Good evening, everyone. This is Jackie Van Workum, founder of Grieving Moms, Finding Hope, and welcome to Hope After the Landslide. This is a weekly broadcast that we do here on Facebook, and it's usually myself and I, where I have a wonderful friend, a best friend, and another grieving mom sharing her story. And tonight we have a returning special guest, but not only is she a special guest, she is truly a friend, and actually, she calls me her sister, not just her sister in Christ, but like her big sister. And that's because I'm old. But I just want to welcome you, and I want to welcome Michelle back to our program, Hope After the Landslide. And what we do here is we try to provide, the hope and healing that you can have, linking arms with other moms and being a part of the Grieving Moms Finding Hope community. We continually have this happen because we can't do this alone. And it's so relieving to be able to talk to Michelle or talk to some of the other ladies that we have in some of our in church groups or even in our homes. And I'm right now seeing that we have Andrea's on here. Andrea's watching you, Michelle. And hi, Lynette. Just want to welcome you ladies here. And while we're talking, hi, Mary. And we want to put in, of course, where we're viewing from so that we just know the women that we're reaching and perhaps where we can spend focus on getting some groups together for you. But in the meantime, if they're not within your own community geographically, well, don't forget, Juanita's on the Monday group with Michelle. She's waving to you, Juanita, that you could get on these groups. And this is where a lot of these ladies have met and become dear, dear friends. And they're asking if we can continue on even after the 12 weeks that we have spent together, which sounds like such a long time. Hi, Margie. Welcome back, dedicated friend. And that's what we're here to encourage you to do. Because, again, how lonely is it? We're alone, but never alone. Hi, Pamela. Pamela's also on here. So we've got Texas, and we've got Floresville, and Kathy Johnson. Hi. So without further ado, Michelle, why don't you share a little bit about what happened to our dear, dear Noah, and then we can kind of go into some of the candid conversations that we had. Hi, Kathleen, and I'm going to be interrupting sometimes, but not while you're talking. Just say hi to some of the moms that are on here.
That's fine. Hi, ladies. I'm glad to be returning to this beautiful website that we're doing, FaceTime. But yeah, my son, my oldest son, I have 4 boys, and my oldest son is Noah, and he went home to be with Jesus 2 years ago. He was 16. My oldest was special needs. He had cerebral palsy. He lived a very, very rough life, seizures and all kinds of medical issues. So we were most of the time in and out of the hospital his whole life. He was diagnosed at 2 weeks old with viral meningitis. And the doctors told me if he survived the night, then he would definitely need full care, which is true. He did. However, God gave him so much more. Truly a blessing to have him. Truly made me the mom I am today. I always tell my other 3 little boys that they're very blessed that Noah was first, because he taught me a lot. He struggled most of his life. We were very blessed to even have 16 years with him. The last year was probably the hardest. I think God was preparing me that he was going to be taking Noah home. And, even though I was prepared for that, I still struggle with the aftermath of what had led up to that. He was pretty on the severe side of having CP. Very little verbal, but a blessing beyond what I can even explain in this small time that we have together. It definitely was a full-time job for me to take care of Noah, but a blessing in so many ways. It was never a chore for me. It was he gave back so much more to me in a spiritual way. I believe his connection with God was just so in tune that I was able to glean a lot of what who God was through him. So I was very blessed, and it's been a struggle without him here. So
well, I want to interject, Michelle, to say that I can't tell you ladies how much I have never heard from a mom that had so much joy and doing so much, if you want to call it, it was a labor of love, right? It was definitely that time that really defined like a lot in your, like you said, your spiritual journey, your courage, your strength, your endurance, really, truly to continue to want, but you loved him so much. And that love that he gave back to you, just, it kept you going, and he was a blessing. And I really wish that I could have had a chance to get to know him, but from what you described, oh my goodness, I feel like I do.
He definitely was. He really had a way of putting my perspective on what truly mattered. He really had a way of bringing me back to, Mom, eternity is forever. And right now we're in, this is a season for us. And so he really had a way of getting my perspective back where it needed to be. Just because I saw him endure so much and his life was so hard here, but he still had the Lord on his face almost all the time. And that was a real good lesson for me. And I believe all of Noah's 16 years that I was very privileged to have, because I was not guaranteed that, was training for me. I think God was training me for this season, this time when Noah would go home. It's taken me a while to get to that fact that, Noah going home was not done to me. It was done for him. He's in a better place. It's taken me a long time to navigate through this journey of, it wasn't done to me. It was, this is the reality of the world that we live in. We live in a fallen world. And God has really been showing me that this was never his plan for any of our children to walk this road. Death was not in his plan for us. And when I start thinking about that and I'm able to grasp that concept, it's only helped me get through this journey a little bit easier.
It's almost like Noah, like God gave Noah a glimpse always in his pain and in his frustration in his own mind of heaven, to where he would get that little smirk on his face and just be able to smile. And then it's almost like you were then getting that little glimpse of heaven through him, so it was this just being, channeled through all of you. And so the thing that I love hearing you tell me and some of the other moms in our groups have been, it's harder to have like the 3 boys now that you have. I mean, granted, you're outnumbered. That's not, that's given. But how much different that it is. Can you explain to them a little bit about that?
It definitely has been different. When we had Noah and we were, faced with all the trials as far as medical stuff goes, yes, that was challenging. It was hard to watch my son endure what he had to endure here. That was very devastating. I'm not minimalizing that at all, because that was hard. However, it was a different journey as far as watching that than when I'm watching my other 3 boys have natural tantrum and the talking back and the training that I have to give into them is exhausting. Where I didn't have to do that with Noah. Per se, he was training me. I think Noah was me, it wasn't the other way around. So he gave back to me much more than my 3 younger kids are doing right now, because I have to train these ones. So I used to tell Jackie all the time, I told nurses in the hospital, I would take 50 special needs children over this normal stuff any day. It's a completely different road for me. So this has been challenging for me, raising, what we would call normal. There is no normal child, but it's been a lot more challenging for me, I think, than what it was with Noah.
Not to mention, they're also mobile.
Yeah.
And Michelle has shared countless times where she has been in urgent care and all kinds of crazy things. Never a dull moment for her, but yet hats off, because in the midst of that, I want to also say hi to Dina. Hey, Dina. In the midst of that is, I always tell the moms too, it's like we walk around and with all those spaces of our mind completely filled with the memories of our child and the things that happen, like especially with you. And as far as like all those day-to-day things that became your day-to-day normal, and then you had to have this huge transition take place, right? And then all of a sudden, like, one of the little guys, um, Josiah will fall and you got to go off, but you still are carrying pain from Noah in your head, and you try to then focus on something different and how difficult that is, and then trying to find your new norm, not because you're missing Noah, but because of your daily responsibilities. Like you said, for 15 years, and especially that last year, became such like very methodical and just day to day. You knew what to expect. With your little guys, you don't know what to expect. And so I want to say hats off to Michelle, because you really have, and a lot of moms have gone through a lot of challenges in the sense of, your child died, and then you're now the caretaker for their children, or then your elderly parent became ill and you had to watch them, and then you say, well, what about me? And there's been that time, and so with that, Michelle has been able to get away, and she's been able to get into the groups with some of the other moms. And specifically, when I was down in Orange County, she was traveling an hour, to see all of us, and we loved it because she just brought such a joy. And then that became too much because a lot of different, variables in her family, and it was just a long drive, my goodness. And then she had to come home and take care of kids. So then all of a sudden she decided, well, I'm just going to get back on the groups, like a Zoom group, which looks very similar to what we're doing right now. And I mean, you feel like you're there with her, and she just started to get on with it. And then I was telling her, I think you were volunteer that you had to be on, right? I didn't even ask you. I just said, you have to be on Facebook Live because you're such a joy to work with. And hold on, my computer's giving me all these things as reminders. Go away. And so then I said to Michelle something that like triggered her, but not in a bad way. Do you remember our conversation?
Yes, I do. And it made me do some soul searching, which was a good thing. Jackie made it, she presented it to me that we have two different identities. We have who we are and what we do. And that's been a really challenge for me since Noah went home, because my identity was always, there's Noah's mom. I was a caretaker. That was who I was, and that's what my job was. For 16 years, I was that caretaker, that job. That I poured everything I was into making sure that I was taking care of him the best I could. So Jackie asked me, and I had to do some searching and do some of my own, finding out. I do feel lost. When Noah went home, I felt lost. I felt like now, even though I have three children, and I was pregnant with my last son when Noah went home. It wasn't by all means that I was bored at all. I have these other children that I'm called to raise up and train. But I had to find a new identity, a new way of my life. And so when Jackie asked me that, I was like, oh, who am I and what do I do? What's the difference between the both? Because I think we as moms especially tend to coexist those, and that's only one thing. But she's very right. There's two separate identities. We have two separate roads, and they're not one. And I felt like such a pressure that was taken off me when she said that, because I felt like, well, this is what it should be. And now that I know it's okay, ladies, it's okay to have that difference. Who we are and what we do are different roads.
So I said to her, and I want to also just say hi to Shell. Thank you for being here, Shell. And if you're just joining us right now, we are talking to Michelle, and Michelle lost her son, Noah, 2 years ago for sure. 2 years, yeah. And she was just sharing about that. And now we're talking about how I met Michelle in one of our small groups together that we spent time. And ladies, please, if you have not gotten into a group here or any place else, I will not be hurt if you go and get involved in a group that's just for moms, but we're hoping that you'll be here because I'd love to meet you and help you walk through this horrific journey but it's a grievingmoms.com, and go to the groups on their webpage. And then you can get yourself involved in a group, whether it's online or locally in your church or in a group in someone's home. And we're growing. And that's my big objective for being here, aside from just basically loving on you. But Michelle had said that what we do is that role as a mom, as a wife, as an employee, as a volunteer at anywhere, a position at a church, wherever. But then there is that, biblically we take it into that spiritual place of, well, who are we? And I merely ask a lot of the moms when I'm life coaching them is, who are you? And boy, that question almost like, it's like, who am I? Well, they usually come back with their answer. They come back with, well, I'm married, to this man. I have children. I work here. That's what you do. Because this is where a lot of moms will get into a situation when their children leave. And unfortunately, in some situations where they're going to pass. And then they're like, whole role is removed from them, and their identity, as you say, has been taken away. But God has gifted us with spiritual gifts. And those are the spiritual gifts that we have to determine and we have to pray to find. Hi, Erica, welcome. And we have to find, so that if something happens, God forbid, to our children, or the inevitable, they're going to move out, or we lose a certain job that we had our identity so engraved into that little nameplate that's on our desk, and it goes away, then what? I used to ask my mountain biking, I had so much time invested in my mountain bike, like they'd say, well, who is Jackie when she's not on her bike? Well, I need to know what God has called me to do. We need to know what God has called us to do. And maybe you're thinking, oh my gosh, in the midst of raising, like Michelle, 3 boys, right, and trying to go through grief, and none of us are ready to jump into a role because we're grieving. Okay, so take that time to grieve. But always know that there's still a dream that's out there that your child would want to have you be involved in, and something that you can say, like, I never knew that my son was going to take his life. 3 years, almost 3 years in January, he was going to commit suicide. It came completely out of nowhere. And had I put all of my efforts into, and who my identity was, into him or my son Ryan or my son Mitchell, and then that goes away, then you're going to be even more devastated. So it's really important when you're grieving to go through and say, God, what do you want me to do with this? Not why did this happen all the time? You can't keep asking him, why did this happen? So Michelle, I'm going to show them. So I said to Michelle, Michelle, it'd be a fun project for us to do a dream board with your family. And, everybody has dream boards and they're just kind of like, oh, dream board. But this is in mine, right? I don't know if I might have shared this before. And so there's a lot of different things. And this was done probably in 2010. And we're going to do a whole thing, I believe, at some point, whether Michelle wants to come back and do that after she's done it with her family. But even if you don't, take your family and sit them down and get giving you everything that you need to be able to make it come true. Just remember that. I say this every time. Because again, at Grieving Moms Finding Hope, we're all about giving hope and healing. And healing and hope is not going to take place just sitting there revisiting the day of the landslide. It's not going to be there. And it's going to be going to God, finding that hope and healing, finding the plan He wants for you, getting linked together, like Michelle and I have become friends through groups in the Grieving Moms Finding Hope. And so therefore, Michelle, did you talk to your family about the dream board, and it's okay, I'll still be your friend if you didn't?
I'm putting it together, and it's been kind of nice to kind of see where everybody's hopes and what they see, what they would like to do for the future. It's been kind of fun doing that. So it's been good. It's kind of given us a little bit more bounce like that to look to the future. That it's not always going to be this painful. it's not always going to be so devastating. There is joy in the midst of this. Through this journey, it's not always going to be where it's at today, and that's one thing I've kind of learned through the last 2 years. It's not where it was when it first happened, but it's not, this is a journey that all of us are going to have to take until we all go home. It's not, I'm accepted the fact that I am going to grieve my child until I go home to be with him. And I'm accepting that, and that's okay. And I think once we start thinking of, this is just the way it's going to be, and it's not going to be as painful. I think that old cliche when people would say time heals everything, that is not true. I think time has helped me manage my pain. It's navigate through my pain easier. It's helped me to put my perspective on what is everlasting. This is temporary. My grief is temporary. I'm going to be home one day with my maker and with my child in a whole new light. I'm going to see my child for the first time walk. I'm going to see my child hug me, and I'm going to see, I'm going to see things I've never been able to see with him. And I think it's been really healing for me to go back to who I am. Who am I in Christ? I'm a child of God. He purchased me. I'm his own. He's accepted me. He loves me. There's life. He's given me life. And even though I don't feel like it necessarily all the time, I have that truth to fall back on. That's who I am. I'm his child. I'm his daughter. He's put a plan and a purpose for my life. And though it's not the journey I would have chose for myself, none of us would have chose this for any of us. And God gave me this verse, Jackie, this last week, Psalms 138:8. The Lord will fulfill his purpose for me. This is from later. This is for the future. It's past, present, and future for me. God, he's not done with me. He's not done with my journey, or else I would be home with my son. And that's kind of given me a little bit more perspective. It's taken me quite a while to reestablish my relationship with my maker again in a different light. And I've learned to trust him in a completely different way.
Trust is, so I've said to many of your moms, it's almost like trust, and bear with me when I say trust has become a very diluted word, I guess, or it's like it's not that bricks and mortar sometimes that we've had in our relationship with our maker. And I often hear a lot of moms say, and by the way, Michelle has a very wise words. Thank you for saying all of that. A lot of moms say, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't live. I can't believe, and again, so much of it is probably because it's a lot of the initial onset of when it happened, when the landslide happened. And that's normal, ladies. And I want to just say for a moment that Michelle and I, so many of the moms here, are so incredibly sorry that you're having to be here. So sorry that you're having to be here. From the depth of my heart, I still almost 3 years later, and Michelle 2 years. It's not ever. It's something that you get over, and it's more to say it's like something you're going to go through. You're going to walk through it day to day. And again, time and just it's not the healer, but it is just a cliche, like you said. But it's almost just like you go through the first year, all those first birthdays, all of that kind of stuff. But after the second or third year, things, it's like it's not so much of it goes, as I always say, from hysterical to historic. And that's what we want. And then we want to be able to get back in the arms of our Savior. And just like your scripture, the scripture I love is Philippians 1:6, which is for he being confident of this, which some of us are not sometimes, that he who began that good work will complete it until the day of Christ Jesus. And then when we get to go back to see him. But know, full well, ladies, that you have survived something that none of us would think we would ever survive. And so therefore, And again, it's not okay. It's not something, like Michelle said, that we wish this was not our journey, but it is. But there is something very significant that God has for you to do.
Right.
And if I get the opportunity to be able to love on you through have a life coaching, this is going to be a lot of what I'm going to do when you can. It's not going to be like right away, but I would love to be able to help you to identify, what is your mission statement? What is it that God wants for us to do? You have your identity in Christ and not in anything else of this world, even the beloved children that have passed. That we want to have our identity in Him because He is the rock. And if we hold on to that rock and we carabiner into Him on that side of the mountain after we have climbed up to that landslide, He is going to secure us there until the day of Christ Jesus. You can't ever forget that. I promise you, it will get better.
Yeah, without Him, it's probably impossible without God just giving us that strength that we need to endure and to resurface or even keep going on this journey. When Noah first passed away, I wish I could say, I was a trooper and I just was, yes, I can do this. But I will tell you, I spent quite a few months in a very dark place. I get up every morning and look at my son's picture and I'd be like, this is one day without him, one more day without him. And it took probably about 3 or 4 months for the Lord to, when I woke up and looked at his picture, He said to me, Michelle, this is one day closer to your son. One day closer to eternity being with him.
Yes.
A pivoted moment for me. I was like, you're right. I need to start looking towards the future and eternity and what's everlasting, not on the here and now. And I know, ladies, that's hard. And I'm telling you, I had quite a few months of darkness, and it took me a while to climb back up. But there is hope. There is hope. We have hope. We have eternity to look forward to. We have our children that we will see again. And heaven is just so different than here. It's not going to be like what we know here. They're not missing us right now. They're not up thinking, when's mom gonna get here? There's no time. Yeah. And so that gives me a lot of comfort knowing, my son's up there and he's whole and he's healthy and he's not struggling anymore. All of our children, in some aspect, we live in a fallen world, we all struggle, but they're not doing that anymore. We have hope and we have that eternity to look for. And ladies, I can only, please, if you're ready, get involved in a group. My healing came from these groups. My healing, the most of my healing, the most impact I've had is being around other grieving moms. Just to link arms with, or cry with, or even, laugh with and not feel guilty for laughing. There's safety like no other being around women that understand where you're at. So I can't encourage that enough. Jackie was totally a blessing that I found her group and was able to, be there in the Saddleback Church. And these women are friends and concubines with me. We hold each other up. It's important, ladies. Please, if you are ready, please get attached to a group. It's important.
Okay, Michelle, we have like a minute or so left. But if you wouldn't mind sharing briefly about when you went to just a Bible study and how that just went for you.
Yeah, I thought, I was going to try normal women's Bible study we were attending a newer church. So I was trying to get involved and meet some, women, right? Because our landslide hit and we just needed to make some friends. And so I tried it. I gave myself 4 weeks and I just couldn't. Once they found out I lost a child, I don't know if you ladies had this issue, but people look at me different. It gave me this look, like this pity, like look, and I know they felt uncomfortable, and I felt uncomfortable too. And so I called Jackie and said, I tried it. I just am not ready to go down that road. I needed to be back with women that understood me, and it was hard for me. It was hard for me Because I think people don't know what to say to us. Of course they don't. This is a devastation, and nobody, unless you walk this world, understands. But I just felt very awkward, uncomfortable, just different, like weird, different, that I didn't know how to handle it. So obviously I wasn't ready for that journey.
Yeah, because it's that contagious feeling. Everybody, it's like as if we needed to walk in with like a special mask on or something, because what we've had, nobody ever wants to go through that. And so it was nice to see that Michelle came back around and she made it work to where she can be here most of the time in the morning, even with the kids. And even if we have like young ones, they'll come in, and I love her little boys. They're just like, they call me Noni. So I have lots of like little boys in my life that I just love. And there's one of them right now. Hey, baby boy. So I just was really just so thrilled to see that she could get back on a group, because I really miss her. And I know a lot of my moms that were at church, I really miss all of them. But I'm so thrilled because all of you are helping me. I mean, even some of you that are on here that have been leaving comments, I'll come back and we have maybe a little conversation offline and online. It really does help me to know that, what it is that I'm doing, that is not always easy, by the way, because I have my own journey that I have to go on. But being on here gives me that hope in my healing. And this is definitely the direction God had me go. And I would have never met Michelle, I had not written this book. And by the way, this is the resurfacing book that we talk about. That it's 12 weeks that we go through. And like I said, it's so easy. It looks very similar like this if you want to get on an online group. And it's grievingmoms.com/groups. You can just sign up there. And we've got some new ones that we just posted up. So that would love to have you this one in your own home. That's very easy to do as well. Michelle, thank you so much for taking the time out of your very, very full schedule. Very full schedule. And you are my little sister. And I'm always going to I'll yell at you, give you a hard time. But it's nice because sometimes when we're having a bad day, we just reach out to one another and say, oh, Sarah is not okay. I think your kids were all just sick. Not easy.
Okay.
But
I'm happy to be here, Jackie. You really are a blessing to my family. So, and I'm excited to see where this group goes. So.
Yeah, yes. And we're going to have a retreat coming up, like probably in February. I'm going to start working on that.
Right.
And if anybody's thinking that they could come to Bend, Oregon, I'm going to limit it to maybe 10 ladies, but I'd love to have you come up, and we'll have like a weekend of activities. I've got horses, and anyways, I'll skip that for later. I don't want to give away like the whole show. Anyways, God bless all of you again. Michelle, thanks for being here. I will come back and look at some of the comments. And Michelle, you might, if you in your spare time, look at some of them if they address any questions to you. And we will see you next week at Hope After the Landslide.
Bye.